Alrighty, what's going on? So, today I took 3 trades. I took 2 losses and 1 win. So going into the day, let me just zoom out a bit because we pretty much just dumped. So I kind of wanted to see us like pull back like up here, which at the time would have been, this would have been like your discounted like OTE, the range, and then throughout the morning we ended up just pretty much selling off, and we also had news at 10 o'clock, so I didn't want to really take a trade before then, but I didn't really expect this to just be like such a sharp sell side of the curve, right? Like when you're looking here, I don't know, I was kind of just expecting, we might like this might just become us going down to like OT the range, taking out a low and then bouncing back higher. I didn't really expect, or I didn't expect at all that we were just going to rip to the downside. And we left this low intact, which I, I'm confident that'll become the draw. So hopefully, maybe we get a little bit deeper of a retracement. Right now we're in this 1 hour took out buy side, but we'll dive deeper into that. But anyway, so going into the morning, I'm gonna go on ES here because the first trades that I took were on ES. After we took this low, pretty much same analysis. I was thinking this was like, OT the range, we might bounce from here. And I think I was just like a little too, like I basically convinced myself like, okay, this is gonna be where we bounce, and then I just zoomed into a 1 minute, and I kind of disregarded the fact that we could very easily sell off. But basically we bounced, and I considered this your 15-minute breaker, and then this fair value gap here would be like the unicorn setup. But I think I was just a little too married to that. Realistically, we just took this high, like we just swept this high. We didn't displace through this high at all, right? It would make sense if we sort of bounced up to here and then retrace down into like discount of this range. But realistically, we just took this high and then just went lower. So zooming in, the first trade I took was very bad for multiple reasons. The main reason was the timing of it. I took this during lunch, which like pretty much like a rule for mine is like I literally never trade during lunch. I don't know, I just saw this setup, saw us bounce out of here, saw a fair value gap, and just smacked along, and it was just stupid. This one was less bad because we had taken this low, and then you sort of bounce through like a little swing high on the 1 minute, but we were just generating liquidity here. Again, the timing, like I just shouldn't be trading right here. I should be waiting until at least 1:30, and we had the lunch low just below us. So generally after lunch you see like either the lunch lows or the lunch highs get taken. If anything, I think if I was going to take a trade, it should have been this. So we retraced down into OTE here. We took the lunch low, right there, and then this right here looks like it's going to be low resistance liquidity, right? So we took all these lows, you bounce, and then some sort of long, like in this fair value gap, expecting all of this to get ran through, something like that, and then maybe leaving, or maybe even targeting higher or whatever. But and then I would have gotten stopped out on that one trade, which is fine. It happens, right? So, but I think these were just bad, especially this one. And yeah, just the timing. I should have never been trading during this time, and then maybe I should have taken a loss right here, and because this was just like a cleaner setup, from the timing aspect and structure. You're in OTE, etc. We also had like a 5-minute right here, so that's the 5-minute. So if I zoom back in, that was us holding the 5-minute, which again was in OTE of this range, etc. So I think this trade wouldn't have been bad. But anyway, so I took one contract. Another thing that makes it bad is I pretty much lose every single trade that I take on MES. I don't know why. It must just be like a curse or something, or psychologically, I don't know, every time I trade MES, I just lose. So that's another confluence on why I shouldn't have taken this trade. But anyway, so once I took those losses, looking at NQ, those losses I took were right about here, and so I sort of switched my bias, right? So we had this sell side level down here. I should have assumed that if we were creating all of these equal lows here, that all of this was going to get taken. So yes, we sort of took this low, right? And we bounced up. And so same sort of bias on NQ is you have this 5-minute. So I'm thinking oh, this might be buy side. You might start bouncing from here, but realistically, this is just relative equal lows here. And then you have this external sell side level just below it. So, from that sort of structure, I should have made the assumption that this might become sell side of the curve to take out this low. So zooming in, the long that I took was on ES was right about here. So basically I took a long on ES right at this time here, basically. And so NQ is forming this low resistance liquidity here. We had it retraced into OTE of this range, into this fair value gap, took this high and dumped, and then we came back, took this high. So this is the turtle soup over and over again. So you take this high, this place down. So at this point in time, so right about here, we had these relative equal lows. I was like, alright, you got me. I'm convinced. I'm finally convinced that this is the draw on liquidity now that we are 1 point away from this level. But then, I wasn't going to take a trade, but we never ended up taking this, and we bounced into this 5-minute. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe there'll be an opportunity here to actually take a trade. So we bounced into this 5-minute. Looking at this price leg, the most recent price leg, we came back into OTE of that range. So pretty much today we were just going right back to OTE over and over and over again. And this is what I played off of. We made a high, dropped lower, took the high, and then had to push down. This is your little shift in market structure here, and we had this little gap. I got short here, almost ended up stopping me out, but this ended up being the protected high, and I wrote it down for, like a 25-point scalp. The reason why I didn't take it off here was because for some reason MNQ, like, the levels were off, and if you look at MNQ, where was it? This one. So this low from 1142, right? See how off they are? Like on NQ, the low was 17,907 and a half, and here it's 17,904 and 3/4. So I was just looking at the MNQ chart, and so yeah, I'm surprised they're actually way off. That's pretty significant, like multiple points, but regardless, that's why my TP was here. Of course, could have taken it to the external one, but I was down already on the day, and I knew this was going to be my last trade, and I just wanted to take low-hanging fruit, which is what I did. So yeah, so I also was like charting out other opportunities that I knew I wasn't going to trade, because I had already been down on the day, and then I got back into green, so I was not going to take another trade and risk going back into the red. I had already taken 3 trades on the day, so I was done. Like I've been saying in my videos lately, I'm trying to be disciplined, so once I got back green on the day, first 2 trades were kind of trash, and then the third one I thought was a good trade. So I was like, okay, like, that was a good trade, let me just end it on a good note, done. And I did end up just sort of charting out trades. So what I mean by that was, I would just look at the model, and then I would just, instead of like paper trading it, I would just like put my drawing as to like exactly where I was going to take the trade, and see how it would play out. And the next one was here. So yeah, we took this external sell side, but we still remained weak, and we again formed all these relative equal lows, looking at the fib. So on a 1 minute, you took out all these highs, this one, this one, this one, this one, drop down. Let's see, is it on the 30? No. So you come back into OT of this range with those relative equal lows below, and then I guess on NQ it didn't really look as clean. There was like a fair value gap on MNQ, but little gap down. Right as I saw that gap down, I guess it was sort of right in here on MNQ. I put my drawing there, and I was like, all right, if I would have shorted, this would be my short right there, and I would target those relative equal lows there, which ended up working out well. So I think there was a lot of internal models today that you could have played. Earlier in the day, we had SMT at these highs. So, right, you had this fair value gap that we ended up blowing through, and then, shift in market structure. We didn't actually come into this 1 minute fair value gap, but I guess it was basically just like the turtle soup, where you drop down and then you just take the high again. So, I guess if you had a short position 1 tick above this high, expecting that to, spark the sell side of the curve, there. That would have been, flawless entry. Let's see what else we had. Yeah, same thing again here. This was also during lunch, sort of end of the lunch. This is like when I was longing on ES, but yeah, they just had very different charts today. But you're in OTE at this range. You have this 1 minute. Again, boom, your little turtle soup. You had your 1 minute inverse here. Also, if you zoom in, I'm sure it looked better on the internal model. So, turtle soup displaced down 30-second. Boom, you could have gotten short here. And yeah, it wasn't really like a clear shift in market structure, but I think just based off of the context, OT of this range, take the high, displace down. I mean, I'm sure that could have been enough validation. I probably would have held it to here. And that's, then we came down, and this is the trade that I took. So, bunch of short opportunities, right? And then at the end of the day, I did not expect this either. We come just shy of this external draw, and the market says, no, not yet. So all of this liquidity, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I just didn't expect this to happen because, on the 1 minute chart, all of these models look the same. You take some lows, you bounce, you displace fair value gap, right? Some of them work, some of them don't, right? Like, I'm sure this exact pattern, I could, bring it over here and look at it, and, it doesn't work, right? And I think it's just the context of it. Like whatever, you had similar things over here, right? So I think the reason why it worked out so well is because, people were probably shorting this all day, right? All day. Because we were just so weak. You have a high here, you have a high there, there. You have the highs here, right? So everybody is just trailing their stop losses all along here, right? So there's so much liquidity here. And in doing this, not only did we take out all of this liquidity here, but we also generated another level here, which is basically just a relative equal low for sell side. So we generated buy side, took all that liquidity while simultaneously generating sell side to eventually come take that as well. So it makes sense, and I understand the ideology of that. I would have never taken a long here. I would have just assumed this fair value gap would have held bearish, and we would have just sold off to take the external draw. But this move ended up being a vicious rip to the upside. So, I mean, that's just like a textbook low resistance liquidity run right there. Like, literally no pullbacks. I mean, I guess there's this, but who's long in that? I wouldn't have longed in that. And just absolutely ripped to the upside. Market close was around here, but theoretically, if you caught that move, you would have gotten 80 points very quickly. But again, I just wouldn't have taken this. But it's just cool to see when those things work out, because looking at something like this, I expect all of this to become low resistance liquidity. So when it does, even if I didn't, even if I wasn't a part of it, I'm trying to appreciate just seeing it happen and being somewhat correct. and not necessarily profiting off of it. So, a later date, I'll be able to capitalize on these things more often. But yeah, so I am definitely still bearish. I think we probably go take this level, especially after generating that sell side level, which is basically our relative equal lows there. So the question is, do we just take this because we are in a 1 hour here? Do we just take this buy side and then just dump off in the overnight, or do we form some more structure? Maybe we come back in here, take this high before selling off. I don't know, we'll have to see, but I'm bearish, and if I do end up taking a trade again tomorrow, I will make another video. So I hope you guys made some money. Hope you did well, stayed disciplined, followed your plan. And yeah, so see you guys in the next one. Peace out.